Do you need portable power on the go? Or are you looking for a solar generator for those emergency situations at home? In any case, you're in the right place. Hello, I'm Wanderer001 and this is my review of the BLUETTI EB55. BLUETTI did reach out to me to do a review of this product and gave me the opportunity to purchase it at a discount. With that out of the way, let's talk about what we're getting with the EB55, because I'm going to say BLUETTI wrong at some point during this review. The BLUETTI is a portable power station that is a compact solar generator. You've probably heard that term used. It simply means that it has an internal battery that could be charged either from your electricity in your house or solar panels if you happen to pick them up. The EB55 is actually one of their more compact, high capacity solar generators. And what do I mean by that? Well, you're looking at a device that is 10.9 inches long, has a width of 7.8 and a height of 7.9. So very small, fits into places. Now, you do see the top here, so let's actually start talking about the general construction of the EB55. It is plastic all around, which is great if you think about it, because one, that helps to keep it lightweight, but also keeps it from getting damaged because, well, if you scratch plastic, you don't have to worry about it rusting out. The EB55 top features a flat surface with a retractable handle. Now, I know it looks a little flimsy on camera, however, I will say that it is really good. Like if I pick this up and I shake it around, it has a definite strong stop feel, and you see it's no worse for wear. There's a nice channel to get your finger under there to pick it up, and it helps to keep the handle flush with the top of it. So even though BLUETTI says you're not supposed to put things on top of this, because I read the actual instruction manual for this, a lot of people say it's good that you can put things on top of this because the handle folds flat. Yes, it makes storage of this or lightweight materials on top of it a little easier, but keep in mind, not really supposed to put things on top of it. But included on the top of it actually is right here. This is a 15-watt wireless charging pad. So if you happen to have a cell phone that takes advantage of wireless charging, simply place your phone on the top and you could start charging it. We'll discuss that a little more later. We're gonna come to the front of the device because, well, that's where everything actually is, and that is an interesting thing that the EB55 has over other solar generators, is that all of the inputs and outputs are on the front of the device, and you can see they have them segmented off with these little lines to make it easier for you to know what things are grouped together. And then you have your display right there, and again, we're going to come back to that. Coming around to the side, you have your fan input, and then on the back you have a diffused LED light which has 3 settings: low, high, and SOS. We're going to turn that off real quick so you don't get bombarded with that. Coming across to the other side, we have our fan exhaust, and I'm going to flip this around to the bottom. You've got rubber feeties to help keep the EB55 in place and help give it a little space between the surface and where you have it to help with airflow. Now, one of the important things with a portable solar generator is actually the weight of it. And the EB55 here is 16.3 pounds in weight just for the device itself. However, if you're going to bring along the charging peripheral for the EB55, the weight jumps up to 18.3. And realistically, if you're not going away for short weekends or just, keeping this around in case of emergency, you're going to need that extra charging peripheral. So it does bring up the weight of this quite a bit. But speaking of that charging peripheral, let's take a look at it as well as other things that you get with the EB55. Here we have the actual charging brick for the EB55, and I will say this is what added all that extra weight to the unit itself. And part of that is because they took all of those electronics that you would have seen in other solar generators and put them in here. Now, the oddity of this is it has its own fan, which, even if it's not plugged into the EB55 to charge it, the fan will constantly run, and that's to help keep the temperature of the brick down. As you might imagine, something as bulky does create quite a bit of heat. Moving on, the EB55 also comes with a standard MC4 solar connector, as well as your DC charging cable. And all of this is included with a little thing to help keep everything in one place, so while you're on the go, you can wrap everything up and not lose it, which is a nice touch, especially if you have other solar generators. Inside the EB55 is a 537 watt-hour battery. That is not to be confused with the 700 watt output that you might have seen advertised. Keep in mind, watt hour is size of battery, watt output is how much you can get from all of your stations on the front of it. One of the interesting tricks that the EB55 and a lot of other BLUETTI products have over the competition right now is their use of LiPo 4 batteries. And what that is a lithium iron phosphate battery, which is very different than your lithium ion battery, which a lot of the competitors use. This allows the EB55 and other BLUETTI products to have a greater charge cycle to that. A lot of batteries in other solar generators currently use lithium ion, which only have about a 500-ish charge cycle before you start seeing degradation of the battery itself. With the iron phosphate battery that we have in the EB55, you're looking at 2,500 cycles before you start to see a degradation down to 80% of battery life. Now, what does that mean for you? Well, that means that you can charge the EB55 every day for 6 years before you'll see any degradation in the battery itself. I don't know about you, but the ability to charge a battery for 6 years and not have to worry about it lowering its capacity is a godsend to me and when I'm looking at something like this. But of course, the internal battery itself is useless unless we can plug it into things and charge things. So let's take a look at the front of the EB55 here so we can find out what we can actually charge. Well, right here you can see DC outputs right here. We have a singular USB-C that can output up to 100 watts, and then we've got a set of USB type connectors right here. So this is going to take care of all of your computers, your cell phones, things of that nature. Over on the right, we have our AC output. So here we have 4 outlets. However, only 2 of them have the false grounding area. And to me, that's a little bit of a hit against the EB55 because I kind of like having that ground in there, and just based on the space that's here, I wish they kind of could have stacked one more. I don't have a lot of devices that only plug into 2 prongs, so missing those grounds kind of hurts it a little bit in my opinion. The outlets themselves support pure sine wave technology. You're going to be looking for something like that on any solar generator that you get, because what that'll allow you to do is power sensitive equipment like computers or other electronics and not have to worry about a fluctuating spike of power screwing those up. So you really want to pay attention to make sure that something like the EB55 has that, which it does. But we also have our DC output right up here. So you've got your cigarette lighter and your barrel plugs. The flaps, I will admit, to keep things out of places that it shouldn't be is nice. They sink in rather well and they have a connector to kind of keep them in place. We then come over here to the left, which is our inputs. Similarly, you have a flap kept in place and you've got your generic port. That's going to be for your DC charging cable, your MC4 connectors, and then here, this is your barrel port for the actual charging brick that comes with the EB55. Now you'll notice that each of these sections, as I mentioned before, is kind of squared off and has a button next to it. That button will turn on the display if tapped quickly, but if pressed and held in place, it will turn on a green light. That means that section is powered on. Now the EB55 here can handle up to 13 devices simultaneously as long as they don't exceed the maximum output of 700 watts. The buttons themselves are a little tricky to see. The green light is not the brightest, and that's coming from an inside with 2 spotlights. Just imagine try and see this outside. And the buttons themselves are a little finicky and touchy. They wiggle a little more than I would like in something like this. Something to mention, the charging pad on the top will not actually work until you turn on your DC output. So if you put something down on there and wonder why it's not working, make sure you turn that on first. With any good solar generator, the important part is the display. That lets you know everything that's happening with the unit itself. On the EB55, aside from not staying on that long, which isn't terrible because, well, you want it to preserve battery life, not displaying the screen, you might notice a little flickering of the screen. I assure you that is just because I have CFL lights and the camera is trying to make up for LED panel with CFL lights. Right here we have our battery indicator. Now you'll notice that is broken down into 20% segments, and in my opinion, not the greatest. I know that they have improved this on other BLUETTI products. However, the EB55 has this older model where you only have 20% chunks, which means, one, you don't know quite how quickly it's charging or how quickly the battery is being utilized. We do have a input and output wattage over there. One thing I've noticed with the screen that is a little odd is that depending on the draw that you get, and I'm going to plug in 2 batteries that need charging, and they both are indicating right here that they are charging, you'll notice it's not actually displaying any watts being taken from the battery. There is a minimum that this will display before it starts. So I have another battery pack plugged in, and here we go, it popped up to 7. I first noticed this when I was testing my cell phone versus the outlets over here versus over here, and notice it looks like 4 watts is about the cutoff before it will start recording that on the screen. So just be aware, if you have batteries or something that uses less voltage, you might see that, and still they'll be charging. Food for thought. And then right here, this is eco mode. Well, what eco mode does is, if you happen to leave this on for whatever reason, it will actually turn itself off. And what do I mean by that? Well, I mean if you leave a section turned on, it's green. If your eco mode is turned on, well, it will make sure that within a couple hours, it will turn that off. Now, if for whatever reason you don't like eco mode being on because, well, maybe you need this to stay on and not turn off, you simply press and hold both your AC and your DC. And it might be tricky to see, but now your watt is blinking. And once your watt is blinking, if you come over and select DC, you'll notice eco mode is turned off. You then come and press AC and DC again to lock it in, and you'll notice that your watts are no longer blinking. If you're wondering how to turn off eco mode, that's how you do it. Now, I mentioned size of battery, I mentioned output. That's all well and good. Put your money where your mouth is. And that's why I ran several different tests to see what this could power and what this couldn't power. So let's take a look at some of those tests to give you an idea of what the EB55 can actually power. Running both my YouTube spotlights off the battery, 39 watts. Running a stationary fan on high off the EB55. We're not even gonna go try for low, we're going straight to high. Initial start was 51, average run about 43, 44. Can power an assortment of batteries and a computer running video game. Perfectly fine. Old school Black & Decker jigsaw before power consumption was really a concern. Managed to get the fans turned on the unit by cranking it a couple times. Old school Black & Decker power drill. Instantly turned the fan on. See, it gets up to about 250. Does level off fairly quickly. Space heater test, fan only. 18 watts, 16, no problem. Space heater actually on low, rotating. Jumps up, ooh, quite high. And overloads it on low. Fans turn on full. Heat gun test, low. Low is about 368. It's handling the low pretty well. It's not spiking. We're gonna go up to high. It's probably gonna overload. Yeah, as soon as it saw the power surge, it stopped before it even got past what it's capable of. Can it run a stand mixer? We're just gonna crank it right up to high. Will it run a Dyson vacuum cleaner? We're not even gonna turn the brushes on. Got the 1000 before it kicked off. Little tricky to see, but actually running a Wi-Fi router, TV, streaming Fire Stick off the TV, all plugged into the Blue Yeti, and you can see, runs all three perfectly fine. You can still have entertainment in a blackout. Pretty good for the actual size of this and the output that it can produce. Now, obviously, once you start using this, you want to know, how long does it take to charge? Can I use solar? As I mentioned, you can use solar. If you plug this in using the included brick that they give you, you can get to about 50% in 2 hours. I saw a maximum input from the power brick of about 209. I did set up a time lapse. The problem is, even when this is plugged in charging, the display does not stay on. I get they're trying to save power, but I wish that would have stayed on, so I would have seen better maximum input. You can also charge this with up to 200 watts of solar. I did try using a 160 watt other brand solar panel and was able to get from 0 to 80% in about 7 hours. Leaving it outside, not perfect sun, just throwing the panel out there. Not terrible. Getting about 113 watts today. Let's see how long it takes to charge in the remaining sunlight that I have. Fan kicked on. One of the things that you need to consider when charging is actually heat. Well, the power brick itself got up to 99 degrees, which isn't terrible, especially since it has an internal fan and has those feet underneath it to keep it off the surface. The body of the EB55 only got to 79 degrees Fahrenheit, which to me is not bad at all. Now, I was able to really get the fans going when I was testing it. And fan noise, I will admit, when they really get going, it is noticeable. However, for most people, unless you're in a very small closed-in spot, this is not going to be that loud, especially if you're using this as a backup power solution or if you're doing this for camping reasons. Well, you know, a little fan noise while you're charging your cell phone or your laptop is not bad at all. So overall, what do I think of the EB55? First being, I have found the buttons to be rather finicky, and that includes the buttons for the light on the back. I wish they were a little more sensitive and that they would show up a little better when you actually turn them on. I wish the screen was programmable so that I could tell it how long I would like it to stay on, not just for reviews, but if I have this out, I want to be able to see exactly how much power is being drawn or inputted, or how many bars I have left. I dislike having to constantly click on it to see how many bars I have left. I do wish that there was an active hours left for the battery, but like I said, in some of the newer BLUETTI products, they do have that. This particular model does not. I like the battery chemistry, giving you those 2600 cycles. No other solar generator that I've seen on the market is doing that. So that's something that is very strong in the favor of the EB55, as well as its compact size. And like I said, the handle folding down, while you're not supposed to put stuff on top, does make this easier to pack away for trips. One hindrance, or not, depending on if you've looked at these at all, pricing. Pricing of any solar generator is going to be a little on the expensive side. However, the EB55 does fit snugly in the market for those with the same watt-hour capacity and size. However, a lot of its competitors will not allow you to have those 2600 cycles. Just remember that. That's one of the key factors that I really like about the EB55 over other solar generators. So if you like compact size, different battery makeup than other solar generators out there, I recommend checking out the BLUETTI EB55. It fits a very unique need that I had, and I think it could do the same for you. With that being said, I have been Wanderer001. If you have any questions or comments, please feel free to leave them in the area below. And as always, thanks for watching. If you found this video helpful, consider giving it a like, as that will help other people find the video as well. If you like what I'm doing here, you can always help fuel the next review by buying me a coffee, link in the description below. Last but not least, if you want to be notified when I upload a new video, you know what to do.